Hello students, welcome. So today we are going to start a new unit, environmental chemistry. In this unit mainly we will discuss about pollutants, their prevention and causes. So first we will discuss about environmental pollutants. So pollutants maybe it can exist in any type of physical form, that means solid, liquid or gas. And depending on their physical state they can pollute different type of environmental parts, and these type of materials can be produced by human activities or due to the natural happenings. Average human being require nearly 12 to 15 times more amount of air than the food, and that's why small quantity of pollutant in air can damage in larger scale. Pollutants can be degradable or non-degradable. That means degradable pollutants will degrade in simpler molecules over a time and it will mix in soil or surrounding environment. On the other hand, non-degradable pollutants will remain in their original state for a very long time. As for example, if we assume food particles or leftover food as a pollutant, then they have very short lifespan because they eventually degrade and mix into soil. So they are not problem, but main problem is non-degradable pollutants. As for example, some heavy metal, some chemicals, DDTs, and mainly plastic. We know that degradation of plastic is extremely slow. It can take up to 500 to 1000 years. That means if we have simple water bottle and if we throw it, then it will cause pollution of soil. If we burn it, then it can cause pollution of air. And if we throw it into the water bodies like sea or river, then it can pollute water. Now, as mentioned, it has very long degradation period. So over this degradation period, hundred of tons of such bottles will be already produced. That means first bottle is yet to be degraded and we have tons of other same type of pollutants already added into the environment. So these type of non-degradable pollutants are extremely dangerous for environment. Now let's talk about atmospheric pollution. So atmosphere that surrounds earth is not the same thickness at all height. At the lower level we have more thick air or dense air, and as we move towards the upper side, thickness of air decreases. That means layer will become less thick. So there are concentric layer of air or regions, and each layer has different density. The lowest region of atmosphere in which the human beings along with the other organism lives is called troposphere. So for us troposphere is most important layer of atmosphere, and it extends up to the height of 10 kilometers above the sea level. That means cloud system, air to inhale or photosynthesis, oxygen, carbon dioxide, all of these requirements are present within the troposphere. And troposphere is, that's why, most important layer of atmosphere for us. And this troposphere also contains dust particle because it is comparatively closer to ground. So as we move above the troposphere, that means more than 10 kilometer, then these type of particles will be very less. So less that we can ignore the existence of such dust and dirt particles in that layer. So mainly troposphere contains different type of gases, water as a vapor or moisture, and dust particles. Above the troposphere, we have stratosphere extended up to 50 kilometers above the sea level. That means from 10 kilometers to 50 kilometers, we have stratosphere. So, troposphere is turbulent, dusty zone containing air, much water vapor, and clouds. Because of higher density, it is closer to the ground, and air present above the troposphere will push the bottom air, and that's why density increases. So that's why it has more turbulent because of much thickness or higher quantity of gaseous molecules. And this is the region of strong air movement and cloud formation. We know that earth is continuously rotating. So because of rotation of earth, troposphere gains some momentum, and that's why turbulent and other natural phenomenon like hurricane occurs. Now most of the living organism and biological activities occurs in troposphere, and that's why most of the pollutants are present in troposphere as well. So troposphere is directly connected to the living organism, and that's why it is more important, and pollution occurring in troposphere is more dangerous. So atmospheric pollutant is generally studied as tropospheric and stratospheric pollution. The presence of ozone in stratosphere prevents about 99.5% the sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation from reaching the earth's surface, and thereby protecting humans and other animals from its effect. So damaging in this layer can cause very devastating effect on earth. Because higher quantity of UV radiation, that means more probability of skin cancer, because UV light directly damages the tissues. In troposphere, mainly we have two different type of pollutants, gaseous and particulate. In gaseous pollutants, we have poisonous gases as for example oxides of sulfur, nitrogen and carbon, hydrogen sulfide, hydrocarbons, ozone and other oxidants. In particulate pollutants, we have dust, mist, fumes, smoke and smog. We will discuss about these all of this in detail in upcoming portion of the unit. So first, gaseous air pollutant, and in this topic we have oxides of sulfur. So sulfur oxides are produced when sulfur containing fossil fuels are burned, and we have other industrial activities which also produce sulfur gases, sulfur oxide gases. In all the oxides of sulfur we have sulfur dioxide, which is more common. It is very poisonous gas and it can damage the tissues, and even low concentration of sulfur dioxide causes respiratory diseases as for example asthma, bronchitis, emphysema in human beings. So sulfur dioxide is a dangerous gas, and it is important gas as well, because one of the most important chemical for industry is sulfuric acid, and sulfur dioxide gas is raw material for production of sulfuric acid. You already learned about it in P block element unit. Sulfur dioxide can cause irritation to the eyes, resulting in tears and redness, and high concentration of SO2 leads to stiffness of flower buds, which eventually fall off the plants. That means it can damage plant system as well. Sulfur dioxide can oxidize into sulfur trioxide, but this reaction is comparatively slow. In presence of catalyst, rate of reaction will increase, and dust particles present in air can act as catalyst, so it can increase the rate of reaction. Now sulfur dioxide can react with ozone to produce sulfur trioxide, and it can also react with hydrogen peroxide to form sulfuric acid. Similarly, SO2 gas can react with water molecule. That means SO2 plus H2O can produce H2SO3. Similarly, SO3 with water molecule produces H2SO4. That means amount of sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide present in atmosphere can react with atmospheric moisture. And when they react with atmospheric moisture, they produces sulfuric acid and sulfurous acid. And eventually these acids will drop down to the surface of earth as a acid rain. Next pollutant is oxide of nitrogen. Now we know that nitrogen and oxygen, these two are main component of air present around us, but they do not react with each other usually. On the other hand, nitrogen is so less reactive that it even decreases the reactivity of oxygen. If concentration of nitrogen decreases in air, then oxygen will become more vigorous or more reactive. So nitrogen even decreases the reactivity of oxygen. That's why in normal condition they do not react with each other at all. But at very high temperature they will react with each other. As for example, at high altitude when lightning strikes, they combine the form of oxides of nitrogen. NO2 is oxidized to nitrate ion NO3 minus, which is washed into the soil and it acts as fertilizer. So it is good thing. But amount of nitrogen oxides present in air can act as pollutant. And our vehicles, as we know, they are combustion engine. That means they use heat or they produce heat. And because of this extreme heat, nitrogen and oxygen molecules will react with each other to form different type of nitrogen oxides. So that means with the combustion of fossil fuel, we are also producing different type of nitrogen oxides, mainly NO and NO2. That means nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide. N2 will react with O2 at very high temperature, that is 1483 Kelvin. So such high temperatures usually are very rare, but inside the engines these are very common. So it produces nitrogen oxide which instantly react with more oxygen to give nitrogen dioxide. So NO with O2 produces NO2. Now rate of production of NO2 is faster when nitric oxide react with ozone in stratosphere. So when these gases reaches to the upper layer of atmosphere, ozones are already present and ozone molecules are very reactive. They easily releases nascent oxygen, that means atom of oxygen, and atomic state of oxygen is highly reactive, so it will instantly combine with nitrogen monoxide or nitric oxide, and it produces nitrogen dioxide. It can create red haze, it damages the leaves of plant, it reduces the photosynthesis. So nitrogen dioxide is lung irritating that it can lead to acute respiratory diseases in children. It is toxic to living tissues and it is also harmful to various textile fibers and metal, because all of this gas eventually combines with water molecule to form different type of acids. That means they have acidic property and it causes the damages to different type of materials. That means it can damage living tissues as well as plants and fibers and metals and sand, dust, buildings, etc. Next, hydrocarbons. So we use different type of fuel, that means petrol, diesel, kerosene, etc. All of them are different type of hydrocarbons. They have hydrogen and carbon and they are flammable materials. They produce high amount of energy, and during the combustion, as we know, if we talk about the methane, then methane with oxygen produces carbon dioxide, water and high amount of heat. That means during the combustion of hydrocarbon, usually carbon dioxide and water molecules are produced. But incomplete combustion of hydrocarbon will release some of the hydrocarbon molecules directly in the atmosphere. And these hydrocarbons are carcinogenic. That means they can cause cancer. So keep in mind, petrol, diesel, kerosene, all of them are carcinogenic. They are cancer causing because they directly attack tissues and DNAs, and it mutates them and eventually it can cause cancer. They also affect plants. They cause aging, breakdown of tissues and shielding of leaves, flowers and twigs. In next lecture we will discuss about the oxides of carbon.